Welcome to MILF,
I'm Courtney,
and I'm Jennifer.
and we are two moms into literary freedom. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey,
Happy
Courtney.
Keepunumuk Day.
Oh my God. Say that again?
Keepunumuk.
Keepunumuk.
Yep.
Okay.
Happy Keepunumuk Day is what I'm gonna say now because it's our Thanksgiving episode.
Woo!
It is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. This episode will probably go up tonight, depending on how many times I mess up and how much I have to edit. So,
We'll
on
try
that
to
note,
keep it to a minimum.
right. Welcome to another episode of Moms into Literary Freedom.
Or MILF
Um,
for books.
yep, we are your hosts, Courtney and
I'm
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Yep. Thanks for listening. And this is technically a junior episode, although we're not going to read the book. It's not going to be like one of those short read the book, talk about how nice the book is in the episode. It's still going to be like no cursing. And it's more of a history lesson because we talked about this I think on our last episode, but Florida has been making some interesting choices.
Yeah.
One of those being the what was it? It was something about the bird from Harry Potter, Phoenix. That's how I remember it. Phoenix, the Phoenix Declaration. You know the bird from Harry Potter?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Phoenix the fox or whatever. I don't know.
He-
That's because
The
I keep
fox?
forgetting because it's hard to keep up with all of these things.
Right.
Not gonna curse. Things that DeSantis is trying to do. So yeah, I'm like, what is that declaration called? It had something to do with that red bird that Dumbledore had in his office, and it's because the red bird's name was Phoenix. So it's called the Phoenix Declaration. Don't know why. I'm sure there's a simple answer, but uh it's basically like a, I don't know, I love America and God manifesto for
Yeah.
education.
And is it going to be like said before the what do you call that?
No, it's no, it's like
Not
saying
the Star Spangled
the
Banner.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance. That's what it's called.
No, in the Phoenix Declaration, it basically is like we need to revive, it literally says we need to revive the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem. I'm like, are they dead?
Right. When
Because
did they pass away?
the
Like,
Phoenix Declaration is more than just that. Um, and similar to, but not the same thing, is the whole communist curriculum. Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard a little bit about it. Like they want to make it like very where it's bad. Communism is bad, and
Hmm.
I don't know how
Yeah.
detailed they're going to get into it, but
Hmm.
they just
Hmm.
want to portray it very negatively. Which I mean,
So, guess what I read as a result of all of this? The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Engel something, Englewood, Engelman. I don't know. I don't have my phone because it's my camera right now, but it was written by two guys, Karl Marx and shit. Can you look it up for me real quick?
ooh,
Something
ooh, she said
Engel.
that word.
Oh no. Okay. Last one, promise, because I'm not going to edit this because I have a Thanksgiving feast to prepare and I don't have time for editing.
Right.
But while Jennifer's looking that up, this is a very special episode because we're going to talk about a junior book, a picture book called Keepunumuk, the Wia Kumun's Thanksgiving story, and it's the true. It's another version of the true story of the things of how Thanksgiving originated. And we are going to tie it to communism. Friedrich, probably Engels. I don't know why I was trying to add Wood, Englewood, Engelman is Friedrich Engels. Okay. So Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they were like pretty good buds. And they bonded over their shared radicalism, basically. So like their political radicalism of, hey, we shouldn't work until we die of dysentery. Like that was what radicalized them was like
Right.
Engels actually was a full-blown capitalist and like made a lot of money on his business ventures, but he was a good person and was like, I shouldn't exploit these people just to line my pockets with more money, right? And so
Crazy.
essentially, yeah, right? So like what radicalized you? I don't know, seeing the people making all of my shoes for my shoe factory dying because of their poor working conditions and low wages, like that's what radicalized him, I guess.
Right.
And there's so much information on Karl Marx and Engels and their lives, and it's just like I might maybe I'm gonna get something wrong here, but like I went down several rabbit holes because I'm trying to connect Thanksgiving
Right.
to communism.
Okay.
I know it might seem like lot like a stretch, but at the end you'll see how we get there. But this book focuses on the three sisters, which I feel like is the only thing that we really have a firm grasp on regarding Indigenous history. Do you know it? Now here I am saying like we know it, and I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you.
No, don't. I mean, I hear the term like three
Yeah.
sisters before.
Because I'm sure we talked about
Yeah.
the three sisters last year too, because it's
I
like
definitely feel like we have.
it's basically like the G-rated version that like everyone that teachers are like, okay, I can't get in trouble for teaching this, can I? So it's like so the three sisters are beans, corn, and squash. Is that ringing a bell?
Okay. No, that
Okay.
sounds completely new to me.
Oh, okay. So basically, they're like a very important part of indigenous culture and tradition, and they're tied to their spirituality, right?
Okay.
So animals and plants have spirits, and excuse me, and indigenous people like rely on these spirits for wisdom, and also obviously it's if you're thinking literally for sustenance, right? So beans and squash and what's the other one I said? Corn, right?
I think so, yeah.
Um,
Excuse
are,
me.
the foods that they would grow and then they would harvest and then, they would use to survive the long cold winter. Okay. And so the name of this book, Keepunumuk, is it literally means harvest. So happy harvest is what I was saying.
Okay.
Not happy Thanksgiving, because it doesn't mean Thanksgiving. It means
Right.
happy harvest, right? And I love this book, and it's a new book. So this isn't an old book. It's new. It like just came out. And it has just a few important words, indigenous words with, how to pronounce them because you know how we are not knowing how
Right.
to pronounce things. And so it tells you about the Wampanoag people and the language they speak called Wampanoag. And that's where the word Keepunumuk comes from. And the cover is really pretty. It's got the three sisters, corns, bean, and squash, and then it's got fox. And fox is a
Yeah.
spirit that kind of, in the indigenous people's dreams, or the Wampanoag, I guess I should just keep, call them the Wampanoag people. The fox comes to them and, says, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't trust these newcomers, these pilgrims." Whereas all the other animals, like the three sisters, deer, raccoon, they all come and they're like, no, we're supposed to take care of people. They need our help, so we're gonna help them, right?
Okay.
Because that's what the first Thanksgiving is. Like the pilgrims almost
Right.
died due
Right.
to extreme under preparation. Like they were not prepared to survive that foreign land. They were already dying of disease and starvation, and the Wampanoag people, their paths crossed, and luckily for those pilgrims, the Wampanoag people showed them how to grow food, and as a celebration, they had Thanksgiving.
Right.
That's pretty
No
much the
good
whole
deed
book.
goes unpunished.
Exactly, right? And so the book is very much just like an introduction to Wampanoag culture, a very brief and G-rated history of colonial, like the beginning of
Right.
colonialism. Doesn't get into colonialism. It's just the history of Thanksgiving, right?
Okay.
But there is one line in towards the middle of the book. It says, and this is the only part I'll read, but it says the newcomers prepared a feast to celebrate the first year in their new home. They fired muskets in celebration. Um, Asamaquin warriors and the other First Peoples arrived. They feasted for 3 days, which I always forget Thanksgiving. The original Thanksgiving was 3 days. That meal changed both of our lives and theirs forever. Many Americans call it a day of Thanksgiving. And we are
Mm.
treated, this is me not reading in the book right now, and we are conditioned and taught that this is a holiday to give thanks for what we have, right?
Right.
But here, I'm going back into the book now. Many of our people call it a day of mourning. And that's the only line in the book that sort of, you know,
Touches on it.
hints at the, yeah. Uh, and then, that I think that's it. That's almost the end. And it's cool. There's like traditional recipes in the back. There's more like actual history of the Wampanoag people. And it was written by actual indigenous people and based on real indigenous kids, and their names are so cute. Maple and Quill. And because it's based, excuse me, the grandmother is basically telling the story to Maple and Quill. And so I read it to
Okay.
Kiki, my
Yeah.
daughter, and she was like, "Oh, I love those names." And then we get to the end of the book, and then we're like, "Oh, they're actually real names of real kids, like that actually exist today."
Oh,
Excuse me. So it was really cool to like for her, because she's 8 and is not being taught this in school, right?
right.
Maybe she's being taught about the three sisters, but she actually was like, "Mom, but indigenous people don't exist anymore, right?" And I was like, "No, they do."
Right.
And I had a
Oh my
very brief
God.
like mom fail moment.
Right. Like, how do you not know this? My bad.
Yeah, but it's like, you're 8 and you're like
No,
barely
yeah.
paying attention to what's going on around you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could see it from a kid's point of view, how it's like, oh yeah, they don't exist anymore. Especially when
Hmm.
we live in a town like this that's very white.
Hmm. And in her defense, she was looking at a picture of like the traditional garb, I guess, for lack of a
Right.
better word. Um, but I even then had to remind her like they keep those traditions of their
Yeah.
outfits, and their necklaces and all that stuff, like in their
Do they call
jewelry,
it?
right?
I'm trying to think if is that regala? Is that what they
Maybe.
call it? I'm
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds
probably
familiar.
insulting someone. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think so. I
Reg-
don't think that's a negative word, but hey, let us
But like
know.
insulting them and like that's not us. You're
Oh yeah,
confusing
it could be a
cultures or
different culture.
something. Yeah. Which I'm
We
not doing that on
are
purpose. Sorry.
not experts, but we're having these conversations because especially here in Florida, I think even though it doesn't explicitly say, or maybe it freaking does explicitly say, do not teach, because that's what the Stop Woke Act is like,
Right.
you can't teach curriculum that might make a white student, any student, right, potentially uncomfortable.
Right.
And the message if you read between the lines there, it's like, don't tell white kids that their white ancestors gave smallpox to the indigenous people and
Right.
more than that. Like this is a junior episode, so we're not going to get into the details, but
Right.
um, you know, the truth of the matter is the indigenous peoples were pushed off of their land forcefully, and lots of death resulted because of colonists and
Right.
colonialism. And colonialism is not taught. But now
No.
communism will be explicitly taught, but it will be a one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's there's a lot of brainwashing that's going to be happening in our schools.
Yeah.
The
It
indoctrination that they claimed the left was going to do is what,
hmm
but we know that that's in their playbook. They
hmm
accuse us of doing something and it's what they plan to do.
hmm Yeah, exactly. It's like who
That
smelt it, dealt it.
right.
Is that a
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
That's
I was like,
funny.
wait, does it? And I'm like, yes, it does.
Okay. Yeah, I like live my life in analogies. It's ridiculous. So let's talk about the book. Just finish talking about the book. It's called Keepunumuk, Weakamun's Thanksgiving Story, which means corn, I think. So it's one of
Okay.
the sisters is corn. But it was written by Danielle Green Deer, Anthony Perry, and Alexis Bunton, illustrated by Gary Meaches Sr. And it's the story of the first Thanksgiving from a Native American perspective. It won a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard Award. And Kiki liked it. Uh, it was more of like a history lesson though, you know?
Yeah.
but and I had to make her sit there and be like, hey, you gotta read this with me. But
Right.
by the end, or not even the end, like the middle, she was like fully engaged in the book. And she was like,
Okay.
what's that? Look at, oh, I love that. And asking questions. And so I could
Yeah.
tell she wasn't just like pretending.
So it's
So
a good book.
yeah, so put it on your list, like, check it out from your library. Tell your library to get it if they don't have it. I guess it's a little late for that, but go to bookshop.org and buy it. So go to Amazon and buy it. We're boycotting Amazon. See, these are things that we could do. We can resist
Right.
capitalistic structures, which is a good segue into the second half of this episode, which we're going to try and keep short. Um, our conversation about communism.
Okay, yes. Let's
So
go. Let's get
you
into
know
it.
communism to be bad, right?
Right.
I know communism
Never
to be
spoken in a positive way. So,
right. hmm And I know I said this before, but I want to be explicit. The theme of this episode is stolen lands because it's our Thanksgiving episode, okay? And the lands were stolen by colonists, right?
right.
But colonizers were seeking religious freedom, right?
Right.
They were also seeking economic freedom, right? They wanted to come to a place, and can we really fault them? They were trying to escape, countries where they were oppressed, right? They
Right.
couldn't believe in the gods that they wanted, or the God they wanted to believe in, and they couldn't, succeed economically, right? And
Right.
so, long story short, that's where capitalism was born. And so capitalism was sort of seen as a solution to feudalism, but it ended up just being a substitution. So eventually we'll get to communism, but what do you know about feudalism? And it's okay if you don't know anything about feudalism,
Yeah.
because again, like these are things that even if they're taught in schools, it's like what we spend like one day on it,
Right.
because there's one, just because there's so much information, but two, because like the curriculum is tends to be one-sided too.
Right.
But
So
anyway,
what is it?
do you know what serfs are? SERFs, serfs?
No, I know what turfs are. I've heard that term.
No.
Is it some,
Um,
not the same?
no. Turfs are
Okay.
like what's we can't talk about turfs on this junior
Yeah, no,
episode.
not on this one.
No, this is like a real a real historical word.
Okay.
So it's like servant. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so very, very long story short, feudalism is like, okay, well, here's a really good way to explain it. The term landlord, right, comes from like the word lord is weird. It's like, why do we have the word lord
Right.
in land? It's because the lords were the noble people, right? Of, let's just say, you know, medieval Europe. Okay. We had
Right.
these noblemen, right? And they were given land by the crown, right? The monarchy, the kings and the queens were like, here you go, noble lords, we're giving you some land. And in return, you need to protect us,
Okay.
royalty. You need to be loyal to us, right? And we, as a thank you for protecting us and being loyal to us, we will give you land. And so they're the lords of the land, the landlords. Okay. Now they
Mm,
didn't do their own work. Okay,
right.
that's where the tenants and the serfs, SERFs, come in, right? And so the tenants,
Um,
you know what a tenant is if you think of,
right.
landlord and tenant. Those words still exist today, and
Yeah.
they were originated in feudalism. And
Oh,
so
okay.
so the tenants were, or essentially the middle class in medieval Europe. They were actually called the bourgeoisie. Okay. So like bougie.
Oh, is that where, I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
So this is more of like a lesson in words. So like what bougie is, right?
Right.
What do you think? What is bougie to you? Like
Someone
try,
who has money or, is, well, if I call you bougie now, it's because you like expensive things or, you wear name brand stuff,
hmm hmm
or you're just being like very like, if you look really cute that day, you're very
hmm
bougie today.
hmm Yes, that's how I use it too. And then I did a little bit of research, and it actually, I think it was like kind of invented by this rap group, which of course I'm forgetting their name, but in 2006, 2007, relatively recent song. And it was basically like describing people that maybe were pretending to be rich. But
Mm,
so it's like, oh, you think you're bougie because you're driving around, with your Gucci handbag and your Starbucks drink, but really
You're broke.
they're probably broke. Yeah. Which,
So I
but
mean, so I've been using it correctly because nobody I know is really rich.
there you
So
go.
we're all
Yeah.
bougie.
Right. So I feel like my sister used to be bougie, but now she's real bougie. Like she's not pretending to
She's
be
not
bougie. She's
faking it
actually,
anymore.
yeah,
So
she
fake it till
faked
you
it.
make it.
She faked it till she made it, and she made it. So I just thought that
Yay.
was interesting. But the word again, like landlord, originated from the word bourgeoisie or bourgeois, right? Which is a French word that literally means um townsperson or like townsfolk, right? So it means like you lived in the town and you were maybe a merchant or you were a business owner, right? So
Okay.
you were it literally well, it doesn't literally translate. It literally translates into like townsperson, but it means middle class,
Okay.
which doesn't align with our current definition of
A
bougie, which is
bougie.
like fancy, right?
Right.
But it means middle class. And so in going back to feudalism in medieval Europe, the merchants and the middle class, they basically essentially they took the place of the landlords. They kicked them out. This is when, French Revolution. They're like, listen, feudalism is just not working for us anymore. So bye bye feudalism. That's a whole nother episode that we're not going to talk about. But so bye bye feudalism. And now instead of landlords and the crown, it's the merchants, it's the business owners, right?
Mm.
So you see how feudalism basically morphed into capitalism.
Right.
And so now the bourgeois, which were the middle class. So if you imagine like a pyramid or a ladder or
Yeah.
whatever, the middle class is now at the top. So they're now the
Mm.
rich. Okay. So if you think
Okay.
of capitalism today, who are the bourgeois? Who is the middle class? It's going to be your wealthy business owner, like the
Right.
Waltons, Bezos and fucking ah,
Ah.
sorry. Okay. I swear that's the last one. Bezos and Musk, I feel like they deserve their own category. But I was trying to think of like people that were like kind of, or like, I don't know, rich
I
people that were
mean,
like in the middle. It's
it's
like the
funny. So
wall.
we know people with money
Mhm.
and we talk about them as rich people, but I tell my husband all this time, really, they're not rich.
No, they're
They're
just not
just middle
struggling.
class. They're just, right. They're just better off than we are, but they're not rich.
Right. And that's why this distinction is very important. So I'm talking about like the corporations, like the
Right.
people who own the
The 1%
corporations. Yeah.
or right?
Yeah, it's 1% because
Okay.
we we're the proletariats. We're the working class, right? And so in reading this Communist Manifesto, the word bourgeois and proletariat were used so frequently to describe, what communism is to Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels.
Ingalls.
And yeah, so so basically, that's just sort of like a brief history of like how capitalism became, like rose up and like, how it connects to people immigrating or colonizing America, right? And then so
Right.
that's where you have capitalism in America. And
Okay.
one point was that's interesting is we talked about 1984 and we talked about how the governments don't really last long. They always fall, right?
Right.
Because capitalism is a means to just make more money, right? It's not to control people like we saw in 1984 with totalitarianism, right? It's so there's a difference between capitalism and totalitarianism. Capitalism is just money, make more money, free
Right.
competition, free market. Um, but the trickle down effect that was supposed to be in capitalism was disproved decades ago, even
Right.
though a lot of people still don't get that.
Still.
Yeah, but I just thought it was interesting because if you go back and you read 1984 and you read the Communist Manifesto, lots of similarities there because George
Oh,
Orwell was, inspired by Joseph Stalin, who basically took Karl Marx's idea of communism and then and just like mutated it into his what communism is today. Okay.
okay.
So Karl Marx's communism was very woke, very liberal, very much just like
Okay.
everyone needs to take care of everyone. Land doesn't belong to anybody. Land belongs to everybody. And this is an international thing. It's not just for one country. It's for the whole world, right? There are
Okay.
no borders, anything that we grow on the land gets or make, not necessarily grow, make, right?
Right.
Gets put back into societal good.
And
Okay.
everybody benefits.
Yes. That was Karl Marx's communism. All right. And the idea is that socialism is sort of like a temporary placeholder. So like the government is supposed to be socialist, where it's like, okay, you this group of people are hungry. We're going to make sure as the government we're going to provide you with social services. We're going to give you food. Or this group, there's a disease outbreak over here in this group of people, the government is going to provide you with the social services of medicine, right? So like
Hmm.
that's socialism. And according to Karl Marx and Engels, socialism was sort of like the precursor or the placeholder until they could get their ducks in a row and get communism to like be full fledged, right? And
Okay.
so, because I've always wondered what's the difference between socialism and communism, and that's
Right.
essentially what I just said. Um, but communism is like a big idea. It's like wow, dream big. Like he, like Marx did not hold back when he was, describing his vision of
Okay.
communism,
I feel like what happens is communism starts off with good intentions and then it turns into a dictatorship.
Yes.
Am I
But I
wrong?
don't think Stalin ever had good intentions.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is not wrong at all. Karl Marx died, and then Engels kind of took over. And he was like, okay,
Oh,
Marx is dead. So Engels sort of like when he died, it kind of communism sort of split into two camps, right? And so I think
okay.
that's when it started to evolve. And just like everything, things evolve and change and
Right.
and morph depending on your intentions and depending on if you're a good person or not, really, or if you
Right.
care about, you know, um, the good of all people, which clearly Joseph Stalin did not care about. But Joseph Stalin kind of, morphed it into what it is, what we know it as today. And I don't
Right.
think there's any going back at this point. Like there's no saving. This is my
Right.
opinion, my very uninformed opinion about communism. Because obviously I haven't like studied this in college or anything, but you just reading books and talking about it, is you'll definitely learn a lot. But
Right.
yeah, I
Which I
just don't
haven't
think
done. I've not studied this or
it's
read
super
or
interesting. I know you're like, no, it's not interesting, Courtney, but it's honestly hard to read.
are there
Um,
dragons?
what?
I said, are there dragons?
Oh no, that would make you, oh my God, that's a great book idea. Okay. We need the guy that wrote Game of Thrones to write a educational story with like dragons and oh that's actually a really good idea. I wonder if anyone's done that. Communist fan
Probably, and I just
fiction.
didn't, yeah.
Yeah. So I asked Blake, who's super smart. Speaking of smart, because like whatever, I think you're smart. I think we're both smart, but like this stuff is dry and confusing and it can make
Yes.
us feel like we're not smart, but we're smart. Okay. Also, if women ruled the world, we'd be in a much better place right now.
So much better.
So I asked Blake, who actually studied, this because he went to school for social studies in English, right? So I feel like history, like he's supposed to know this stuff, right? I
Right.
went to school to study how to teach science. Like I didn't feel like he's supposed to answer my history questions, right? I can answer
Right.
most of his science questions. So I asked him, I said, do you know what the gulag system is? And he said, no. So
Okay, I feel better then,
yeah,
like, okay.
yeah. So I was like, I use you as my thermometer. Like if you say no, then that means I need to explain it because if you don't know it, then most people I don't think are going to know it.
Right.
So basically the gulag system were prison camps in Soviet Russia.
Okay.
So have you ever heard of the word gulag? You don't
Yes, I
obviously.
have
Yeah,
heard that word before. I have
me
no
too.
idea what it means.
Same. And I was like, do you even know, like, you know that it's, communist, or it was Russia. He's like, yeah, I could have said Russia, but I wouldn't have been confident in saying it if it was under Stalin, right? But
Hmm.
but yeah, it's Stalin's prison camp system that he put into place while misappropriating Marxism, right? Or Marxist communism. And
Okay.
so he is responsible for the deaths of millions of people, right? Um, and it was under something that Ron DeSantis call and a lot of other people, not just Ron DeSantis, calls Marxism Leninism, which is a mouthful,
Okay.
right? It's communism, right? But it's not Karl Marx's communism. It's not John Lennon. That's the Beatle. Vladimir, I think is his name. Vladimir Lenin. Okay. Um, his communism, but basically Joseph Stalin just took it and was like, this is what we're doing now. And basically what he did is he replaced all the small farms in Russia with state-run collectives, which led to mass starvation of peasants in famine in Ukraine and all throughout, Soviet Russia. He implemented the Gulag system, which were consisted of great purges, which is a reference to 1984. So George Orwell got a lot of his material from all the terrible things that Joseph Stalin did. And
Okay.
essentially, that was when anyone who disagreed with Stalin and how he was running communism, which was a lot of people disagreed with this. So dissenters or opponents,
Right.
murdered, executed.
Huh.
Um, and if you weren't
Someone
murdered
just
or,
called for the hanging of someone
this does
recently.
sound familiar, doesn't
Right.
it?
It's
Yes. Calling for the execution of anyone who disagrees with you. Not
yeah,
normal. Things
not
that we shouldn't be
normal.
talking about. So if you weren't executed for disagreeing with your great leader, you were deported to a remote and resource bare area where you succumbed to disease and starvation.
Which I've also heard that idea floated before too.
Deportation. Well, we're seeing the
Well, we're seeing
deportations,
that, but
but yeah,
just for
but to
people who
remote
disagree,
areas.
yeah,
hmm And I just saw a video. Um, warning sensitive material, but social media video of a 17-year-old boy whose window was broken by an ICE officer. And there's a video and audio recording of the 17-year-old boy saying, I am a 17-year-old United States citizen. And the ICE officer said, I don't care, reached in and grabbed him and pulled him out of the car. That
yep.
is not freedom. That is not our America. Well, it is our America, but it's not my
It
America.
shouldn't
It's why
be,
I don't
right?
stand for the pledge.
Yeah, it should
Hmm.
not be our America, but it is. It is what we're currently living, and that's not the only case like that I've heard of.
Mhm. Yeah, no, this is
It's
just like the tip of the iceberg. And you think about all the things that aren't recorded on video that are
right.
happening. But
Yeah,
anyway, that doesn't sound like the communism that I just described, Marxist communism, right? Marxist communism was extremely woke. Everyone
right.
is taken care of, right? Again, that's a tall order to ask. And I think Marx was uh a what do you call it when you glass half full kind of guy, optimist.
Optimist, yeah.
Definitely an optimist. Maybe a little too optimistic in my opinion.
Right.
Um, but this is not communism, like or Marxist communism. It's
Okay.
Stalin communism. So he took an idea and mutated it. So basically, like no land was owned by anyone privately or independently. It was
Mhm.
all owned by the government, I guess. So it was sort of like socialist, like socialism. And as a result, he starved and killed, a bunch of people died of starvation and disease because of his poor ruling. So
Okay.
it's like taking a filet mignon and turning it into spam or canned meat,
Mhm.
right? Like they're
Yeah.
both meat, but
Right.
are they the same?
Right.
They're not the same. And
Not
so
at all. Not
here's where
even
the problem is.
close.
Yeah, and so you have Ron DeSantis who's saying we're going to teach the dangers of communism to our students. No, you're going to teach how Stalin was a terrible person,
Right.
but you're not. teaching Marx, and so but he, like so many others, clumps Karl Marx in with Joseph Stalin. They are not the same person.
Yeah, because I mean, as far as I'd heard it, it's all bad.
Right.
Like that was the perception I had.
Hmm.
And it doesn't sound like it's all that bad.
No.
Seems
And
impossible, but not all bad.
mhm.
Is that how you think the bad communist countries have come to be? Because they are falling for the idea of Marxism.
They're not falling for it. They're using it as a guise to become powerful dictators.
I That's what I meant. I worded that
Yeah.
awfully, but like they're being given that impression that that's what they're going to have.
Hmm.
And then,
Hmm.
psych, it's really this.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what we're seeing with those communist countries like North Korea, which
Okay.
I don't even know. Who knows what's going on over in North Korea, really? Nobody knows.
Nobody.
Um, but yeah, I saw somewhere that like the United States of America is like on a list with North Korea for like I don't know, countries that XYZ, and I'm like, "Oh, cool. We're up there with North Korea doing the same things they're doing, you know."
Not shocked to hear that at all. I
No.
mean,
Mm-mm. So when this is taught in Florida schools, like I guarantee you, the language, I think that it exists today, like the standards on communism, like
yeah,
it'll be like students will be taught the dangers of communism and how a communist government or society only results in, oppression and famine and blah blah blah, and it's only going to be using, the examples of Stalinistic communism, which is actually
right.
called Marxist-Leninism,
Huh.
but it's really Stalinist Marxism. But how does it relate to Thanksgiving and stolen land? Well, Marxism isn't dead. There are still people that call themselves Marxists and truly see the value of his vision and want to fight for, um, you know, for it to come back, I guess. But essentially, it's called, going back to the word proletariat, right? Which just means working class. This word too, just like all the words we talked about in this episode, has evolved over the decades to mean something new. So it started out as just meaning like working class, like a laborer, right? Who is just
Hmm.
a cog in the machine, who gets minimum wage, who just makes barely enough money to just keep going to work until they die, right? And that is what was happening in feudal Europe. That is what's happening in capitalistic America too.
Hmm.
And and people will sit there and until they're blue in the face and say that people are better off today than they were in feudalist Europe, but you have people with type 1 diabetes that cannot afford their medication, or,
Yeah.
any other number of situations where they're just barely not even making ends meet and end up being homeless
Yeah.
and unable to feed their children.
Yeah. We have a shortage of funds. Not a shortage of funds.
No,
We
we do
have
not have,
someone,
because we have so much money that we can
right.
give it to Argentina.
The money is there, but we just have one or two people who are hoarding it, and everyone else is screwed.
Right. Yeah. To be proletarian now means to resist settler and capitalistic structures and to pursue a revolutionary ambition to transform democracy and economy and how we deal with land, right? So that social ownership and labor is redefined through the decolonization and collaboration with indigenous peoples. And I know that that was a lot of big words.
Yes. I was just thinking, like, I think I'm too tired for this
I'm
conversation.
sorry. I'm sorry. I I think I wrote it in layman's terms right here. Hold on. Present day Marxists view being a proletariat on stolen land, so an American, right,
Right.
as an obstacle to reaching a classless society, right? So we
Okay.
want to reach a classless society, right? We talk about caste and how you've got the upper class and the middle class,
Right.
the lower class, and then the class beneath the lower class, and how that's, classes have existed since the beginning of civilization. But present day Marxists see that, there's a way to get there, but we need to form an alliance with indigenous people and write new treaties about decolonizing their land, right? In order to fully, truly become proletarian. Does that make more sense? Okay.
Yes.
We we have to make it right with the Native Americans.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So,
So in the form of like making new treaties,
yeah,
decolonize, like what's it called? Reparations. Okay, that's the
reparations.
first step. That would be the first step. And I'm not
Okay.
saying like, hey, we need to all become communists and transform America into communism.
So we need to rebrand.
Yeah, rebrand. Rebrand into, and I think that's what democratic socialism might be attempting to do. It's still not
Okay.
communism because socialism is different. Socialism is like a democratic socialism would be like you have a democracy, you have a
Right.
president, you still have all these government offices that make these decisions, right? Well, you're supposed to have a Department of Defense, not a Department of War. You're supposed to have a Department of Education, which we don't have anymore.
Right.
Um,
Now, under Marxism, is it true like nobody owns anything?
yeah, that's where it's like I'm still digging into like what his true vision was, but yeah, it was essentially
Okay.
like well, yeah, you can't own all of the land because, then all of the money goes into your pocket and you continue to exploit the workers that are producing your goods that you're selling
Right.
to line your pockets. And so I guess his idea there is if nobody owned it, then there wouldn't be that temptation of greed.
I have
Yeah,
no idea.
I'm not sitting here saying communism is great.
Right.
Honestly, all I'm saying is that the way that communism will be taught in Florida will be very one-sided.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
history of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels and their idea of communism will be very you know, morphed or misappropriated because
Right.
of all the terrible things that Stalin did. So but that's like Ron DeSantis was quoted saying that students will be taught the true dangers of um, Marxist, Leninist communism. But to put those two names together or to attach Marx's name with what Stalin did is
Right.
indoctrination, propaganda, just untruth.
Right. Because that's not how it worked.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I'm getting it.
Mhm.
Sort of.
Yeah. And just to tie it back into Thanksgiving, it's one of the first steps, I guess, if Marx were here today, would be making right with the indigenous people because we stole their land, right? So
Right.
how can we even be profiting, or how can like the Walton family be profiting off of all the land and the stores that they built on stolen land?
Right. Definitely something to consider.
Yeah, and I don't, yeah, again, not a proponent of communism, just interesting that it won't be taught accurately.
I mean,
So
do we trust anything that comes out of Florida right now?
true, because PragerU, what was the thing about PragerU in Columbus?
Christopher Columbus video where they try to pretend like he's a good guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of
And
PragerU is
slavery, saying that
disgusting.
like they brought over Africans to and gave them opportunities to
Yeah.
in this capitalistic economy. It's like, oh no,
Right.
we brought them over and now they can be business owners,
Yeah.
right?
It's
That's what
it's
PragerU is all about.
right. It's all propaganda
Yeah.
and
And
whitewashing history.
and with the dismantling of the Department of Education and all the things that notice how I said things there, not something else, that DeSantis is doing in Florida, like Florida is the canary in the coal mine, honestly. Like
Yes.
Florida is like really trying to be like the worst of the worst when it comes to public education. But before we end here, one thing I do want to bring up since we're talking about education is the dismantling of the professional career um groupings, right? So taking
Yes.
away saying being a nurse isn't a professional career, being a teacher isn't professional, but not just that, like being like a business owner or an entrepreneur or a
Oh, really?
lawyer. Yeah. I think, or maybe it's not
Lawyers?
lawyer. It might not be lawyer, but it's like business, investing, like has to do with like money. So it's not just nursing and teaching. Like, yes, women will be impacted
Uh,
by this because traditionally
yes.
women become nurses and teachers, right? And what's happening is they're saying you cannot take out X amount of money, or you can only take out X amount of money if you are getting a professional degree. And nursing and teaching used to be professional degrees, and now they are not. So now it
Right.
limits how much money people can take out to get their degrees. But it's not just nursing and teaching.
No, so I have this list that I screenshotted the other day.
Mm,
And I'm sure there's more to it than this, but it's a pretty long list. It's nursing, including advanced practice degrees like nurse practitioners and DNP programs, physician assistants, physical therapists, audiologists, I'm not sure what that is, architects, accountants, educators,
accountants.
including
Mm,
those with master's and doctorate degrees in education,
wow.
social workers, engineers, business master's degrees,
Here you go. Business,
counseling or
architects.
therapy, and speech pathology.
Right. A lot of those are female driven,
Right.
um, but accounting, architecture,
Engineering.
business, engineering, those are traditionally male. And not to be
Right.
sexist here, but just so it's not just
Predominantly.
there's a lot going on or
Yeah.
going around on social media that it's just teaching and nursing, but it's more than that.
Right.
So if we can get these people mad, like we need to get these people upset. Where
Yeah.
are my accountant friends out that are angry?
Right.
And because there is, and I know this just from watching Miss Frazzled's videos, but there will be a public comment period on this. Not that dissent of any kind has proven to be effective, but that's just the pessimist
I
in me
mean, it
talking.
it has. I think it has
Yeah, I'm just
to a
being
small
pessimistic
extent.
because I'm hungry.
I will say I think you're on the right track. With what you're saying is getting like the engineers and the accountants, getting them pissed off
Mm-hmm.
because I had the same idea with the whole shutdown thing. I told my kids once I saw that flights were getting canceled, right? I said now that it's not just SNAP benefits, and poor
Mm,
people being affected, and it's
right.
people going on business trips and
Yeah.
vacations and their
Uh,
wedding plans and honeymoons are getting
right.
canceled because they can
Mm-hmm.
afford to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's affecting people who have those kind of funds,
Mm-hmm.
shutdown's going to end.
And that is where, to bring it back to Marxist communism, he says that the proletariats or the proletarians, I don't know how you end that word, depending on what you're talking about, but have the power to overthrow the bourgeoisie class, right? So, if we just can, but like, it's not
Wait,
just
who are the proletarians again?
So it's not just the people that rely on SNAP benefits, it's the people that are going on their vacation, right?
Right,
On their plane, but their flight was canceled because of all the malarkey that's been going on in the
right,
government, right? So proletarian is like, in 1984 it consisted of 80% of the population. I think you could probably say, closer to 90, 99 versus 1%, like the
right,
working class, not just the laborers that get minimum wage, right?
right,
But your rich friends, for example, too, because they're not millionaires, or maybe they're millionaires, but I mean, are they millionaires?
they might be. They're not multi-millionaires.
Okay, okay. Like I know a lot of quote
They're
rich
not
people that
billionaires.
I don't think they're close to, yeah, and you know what? I think it's a lot easier to become a millionaire than it used to be, but I'm not a millionaire, that's for
No, far from
sure.
it.
Yeah, but I am also not getting, I'm a good example of this. I'm a proletarian or proletariat. I'm a member of the working class. I don't get paid minimum wage, right?
Right.
But I can go on vacations and my flight can be impacted, you
Yeah.
know? So anyway, the point of that is just that like there's a lot of us. And like you said, if it's just people who care about, SNAP benefits, that's a lot of people are selfish and just don't think about that. But if
Right.
it's their vacation that's being affected, then that's where the power comes from.
Right.
Or
People
if
who have,
they're
who are, I guess I meant it in the sense like people who those people care about their opinions. Those people
right,
up there do not care about the people on SNAP benefits. Like that's
true.
just they don't
Yeah.
care about us.
Hmm.
Not that I'm on Snap, but if I was, like they wouldn't care. They don't care whether I
Right,
get a
because
paycheck or not.
you're on Snap because you made, according to them, you made bad choices in your life.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's why, yeah. But if your precious smart son can't go to school for accounting because you can't afford to pay and you need some student loans to help get him, help get him through that, then
Right.
that might affect you in a different way too. Or you might start to care more, I guess.
Right.
Or maybe they'll start protesting and the next protest will be 3.5% because like we haven't gotten to the 3.5% mark yet, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Like it's just the people like a little bit above us
Hmm.
that have they hold a little more sway, I feel like, than
Hmm.
we do.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with what you're saying. They have a little bit more sway, but also it's strength in numbers too.
That too.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's both. Both two
Yeah,
things can be
both.
true.
You're right.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
we need them to side with us instead of the thing is they think they're rich.
Hmm. Oh
They
my
don't
God.
realize they're middle class.
Oh, I know so many people that think that they're, and I'm just like, no, you're not even,
Yeah.
it's like they're not even in that tax bracket, but they will
No.
complain like they are in that tax bracket. Like
Yes.
I've actually said before, like to someone, you're not in the tax bracket that's being taxed. So why are you upset about it? It's
Right.
like when it comes down to it, you don't make $500,000 a year,
Yeah.
like
These people do not want to sit down and have a meal with you.
mhm,
They see you as scum, like they see us as scum. You
exactly.
just haven't
Right.
realized that yet.
No. No self-awareness.
No, because they see us or, people below them and they're like, yeah, we're not those people. So
Hmm.
they think they're those people and they're
Right.
not those people either.
Right. I don't
And
know why
those
they
people see them as, you're just below us. You
and
don't
that's
matter.
another like, thing what's the word? Obstacle that is preventing us from getting on the same page. It's like we all got to work
Yeah.
together here as the proletariats or the working class, right?
Right.
Like if you're a physical therapist and you're making 100 grand a year, that's great. You're still a member of the working class.
Yes. Exactly.
And yeah, and like you think that like you don't want to have dinner with me, but they don't want to have dinner with you. So
Right.
yeah.
Welcome to the
Anyway,
club.
yeah. Like listen, we gotta stick together. Like the sooner you guys realize this, like the better it is for us.
Yeah.
But
They don't understand. They're like one catastrophe away from being in the same boat as someone who needs
uh-huh.
SNAP benefits.
Right. And also, yeah, and they're like lucky that they don't have to. I'm just going to keep using this example, but they don't have type 1 diabetes, right?
Right.
Or they don't have to like these medical bills or
Yeah.
children with medical bills, you know. But anyway, we could go on all night. I think we should stop there.
Yes.
I'm sure we're super busy and
I'm losing my
thank you.
lighting.
Yeah.
It's getting
Thank you
really
for,
dark in here.
I did notice that it was like immediate, but
Yes.
um, yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Don't ban books.
Ban bigots. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer and Courtney.
You can listen to the Milford Books podcast on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, or literally any podcast app you want.
Check out our Milford Books YouTube page. That's MILF, the number 4, books. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Follow the show on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and Blue Sky at MILF for Books. Again, that's MILF, the number 4, books. But follow us on TikTok at Moms into Literary Freedom.